That's what I'm talking about next. The world's biggest social network that just keeps getting bigger. Facebook has announced another big jump in revenue, and more people are using the site than ever before. Founder and boss Mark Zuckerberg called it a strong start to the year. A quick look at the numbers in all of this. Now, between January and March of this year, Facebook raked in almost $3.5 billion, mostly in advertising revenue. That was up 42% on the same quarter last year, and of that, only around $500 million was profit, as Facebook invested so heavily in new projects and paid out millions of dollars in staff share options. That profit figure was also down 20% on last year, but Facebook's still managing to attract new users. It's now getting on for 1.5 billion people who log on at least once a month. And just to give you a sense of perspective, that's roughly the population of China. That figure is also up some 13% on last year. Michelle Fleury's been looking at it all.
Facebook has cracked how to make money from mobile, balancing the user experience against how ads show up in your newsfeed. And it's paid off. 3/4 of its advertising revenue came from mobile ads.
The reason why this is very important is because users are all shifting to mobile devices, and this metric for Facebook really continues to kind of move along to where the users are going.
Like other tech companies, though, the social network was hurt by the strong US dollar. Facebook generates more than half of its revenue overseas.
Revenue was slightly lower than estimates, and this is because of the foreign exchange impact that, just kind of companies across many different industries are facing, which is a stronger dollar, which means that, all the international revenue that they're generating, when they bring it back to the US, it's worth a little bit less.
Almost 3 years since it went public, Facebook is spending more to grow. And the company has warned that those costs are set to increase as it builds on some of its purchases like Instagram and WhatsApp.
I think this is honestly the single biggest question that Facebook needs to answer, which is to what extent are the investments the company has been making going to yield some type of financial benefit.
And that's the challenge for investors in the world's #1 social network. Do they focus on Facebook's strong user growth, or do they worry about where its next moneymaker will come from? Michelle Fleury, BBC News, New York.
Well, joining me here in the studio is Mike Weston, Chief Executive of data science consultancy Profusion. Mike, good to see you. So, first quarter results for Facebook, they look positive. On the offset, revenues up, advertising revenues are up, but you would argue that it's actually the usage number that is the most important in all of this.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, usage number, we talked about 1.44 billion people using it, the population of China, as you said. An astonishing proportion of that is actually on mobile as well, and that's, I think, probably the most important statistic that comes out of all of the reporting from Facebook's announcements yesterday. 1.25 billion people accessing Facebook each month from a mobile device. And if you cast your mind back 3 years to when the IPO paperwork was going out, it was really something that was taking people a little bit by surprise how much of the attention in that paperwork was around developing their mobile proposition. And this is proof today that they're really making that count.
So they're really concentrating on their mobile users rather than those who log on via their desktops and the laptops,
Completely,
for example.
yes.
Also, though, 3.5 billion that's been raked in mostly in advertising revenue. Have they then cracked the conundrum as how to monetize Facebook, particularly when it comes to our mobile device, whereas, of course, the screen space is limited?
Have they cracked it? I don't know if they're 100% of the way there, but they're certainly making massive strides towards it, and more so than anyone else, with the possible exception of Google. If you think about it, Facebook's challenge, as they spoke about yesterday, is partly that the amount of revenue they take as a share of total advertising spend versus the amount of time that people spend with Facebook are still out of alignment, and that's been a common cry across the internet business over the last 15 years. That's all the more true with mobile, and continues to be that case for most people.
And of course, the big question is, have they reached a tipping point? We were mentioning there just the sheer amount of money they're investing in new projects, for example. They're spending money. Are they going to continue to grow at the sort of pace that we've seen? Are there still new users out there for Facebook to target?
Yes, I mean, you're right. They have got a massive proportion of the world's population using Facebook at the moment, but there's a much larger chunk of people who are not yet there, and they tend to be younger people and people in areas where desktop access to internet is not necessarily the first thing on their mind. So the mobile bet, I feel, is exactly the right one. And I think that what we'll see is, as we get, not just in terms of mobile phones, but also other types of wearable devices with Apple Watch and Fitbits and those kinds of things, I think getting that kind of data in to make the targeting of advertising more interesting, I think that gap between the amount of attention they capture and the amount of advertising revenue they capture will catch up.
So still some positive results for Facebook to come.
It's a long way
Mike,
to come.
Many thanks.
Thank you.
Mike Weston there from Profusion. That is the business for this hour. Back to you now, Adnan.